Most of you are probably familiar with the Middle East Escalation mod for Squad. With over 330,000 subscribers, it's easily the most popular mod for the game. With its latest update, the mod has found itself embroiled in a lot of controversy that I'm going to go over today. The MEE mod is well known for the brand new factions, guns, player models, sound effects, and more that are brought to the game. Some of these factions include the Croatian Armed Forces, 75th Rangers, US Special Forces, Wagner and Palermo PMCs, and many more. It's certainly one of the biggest draws to the game. They recently had an update that brought a host of new factions into the game, and this is where the controversy starts. In the latest update, 6 new factions were introduced. These factions are the Ukrainian International Brigade, Ukrainian Mechanized Infantry, Ukrainian Territorial Defense, Russian Wagner Bravo, Russian V2V, and Russian Naval Infantry. Now, unless you've been living completely under a rock for the past year plus, then you know that Russia invaded Ukraine in February of 2022. Obviously, this is an ongoing and very active conflict. The addition of these factions that represent a current conflict could be controversial in itself, but the real controversy is a bit more specific than that. As you may know, when Russia invaded Ukraine, they painted large Zs on their tanks, APCs, and other vehicles. From a military standpoint, this was done in order to help identify friendly vehicles in order to avoid friendly fire incidents, but this too goes a little bit deeper than that, as I'll discuss later. As far as the MEE mod is concerned, the Ukrainian and Russian forces use similar vehicles in the game, much like they do in real life. For squad players, this presents an issue when it comes to identifying vehicles in order to ensure you're engaging an enemy and not a friendly. The makers of the mod therefore decided to give the Russian vehicles large Zs on them, much like their real life counterparts. This is where the major controversy comes in. OWI has approached and requested that the devs modify or remove the symbol as announced on the MEE Discord. The decision to add these factions in itself had the potential for controversy, but OWI approaching and specifically requesting the removal of the Russian Z from the mod has sparked a lot more than just that. The move was likely done in order to be considerate of the current conflict for those who may have been offended by the usage of the symbol for reasons I'll explain later on. This isn't the first time OWI has done this. The mod added ISIS along with the ISIS flag and was requested to remove or change it, which the devs of the mod did, making it the Middle East Insurgent faction instead. While using the Z symbol on Russian vehicles is accurate to the current conflict and by itself not necessarily an issue, it's more what the symbol has become. The Z has become a way to show support for Russia's invasion. It's changed from a practical way to identify friend from foe into a way to show support for a war that has killed tens of thousands. In addition, these factions squaring off in squad in itself is a bold move to make considering the scale of the current conflict. Now look, as an American, it doesn't really bother me one way or another. I'm used to games that, if not necessarily taking place during the Iraq or Afghanistan wars, certainly were taking place just adjacent to those conflicts. The difference is, at least from my perspective, those wars were not near to the scale of the one in Ukraine right now, and certainly weren't conventional wars either. OWI has to protect their product. Their product happens to have users from both countries currently involved in this war. There's usually around a dozen or more Russian-speaking servers at any given time, and usually 3 or 4 Ukrainian-speaking servers. In addition, there's several Russian servers that are actively using the MEE mod. OWI doesn't want to alienate the players in either Russia or Ukraine, even though the mod isn't made by them. It still represents their brand and the game at the end of the day. While I understand the frustration many are expressing, this is strictly a business decision by OWI, and it's already being complied with by the MEE devs. OWI still wants Russians and Ukrainians to buy the game and to continue to support it. Alienating one side or the other over something like the Z symbol isn't worth it for that reason. So I'm curious what everybody else thinks, so let me know in the comments what you think of this controversy, or if you even think it's controversial. And if you're Ukrainian or Russian, give me your opinions as well. In the meantime, be sure to check out my Discord, and I'll see you on the battlefield.